In the future, other European countries can follow suit to use Huawei equipment, while the US pressure will be borne by Germany. This is Germany's plan to trade communications for cars, because Germany has done so. In the future, even if the EU imposes huge tariffs on Chinese electric cars, China will find it hard to retaliate equally, because the retaliation will hit German cars. It will be a lose-lose situation. What if China wants both telecommunications and automobiles? The only way is to put pressure on Russia as soon as possible, to get Russia back to the negotiating table, and make concessions fast, because the EU has taken action against Chinese electric cars. This is just the first step. If the Russia-Ukraine war continues, how difficult it will be for Europe this winter. It will put more pressure on China. After electric vehicles, it may be photovoltaic, and other Chinese products with advantages. So whether it is out of geopolitical and security factors within Russia, or security factors, or the need to keep Europe neutral, China must also increase its efforts to mediate Russia-Ukraine, to let Europe see China's sincerity in mediating Russia-Ukraine. So when Wang Yi visited Russia, he said to Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, China has always adhered to the right direction of peace talks. China will use its own way, play a constructive role in the political settlement of crisis. This statement is of great weight. Why? Firstly, it clearly stated that peace talks are the right direction. So now only war and no peace talks is the wrong direction. Secondly, China will play a constructive role in its own way. What does it mean? It means that if Russia does not return to the right direction of peace talks, then China will take unilateral actions. Take unilateral actions. China not only said so, but also has specific actions. This action is the Ministry of Commerce. Suddenly controls the export of drones. This is a clear signal. Russia's current drone supply and spare parts depend on China. After China controls exports, it will be difficult to buy drones from the civilian market. These statements and actions are of great weight, putting great pressure on Russia. It is precisely because of the pressure China exerted on Russia. France immediately showed goodwill, responding to China's efforts. Recently, with the launch of Huawei Mate 60 mobile phone, Macron publicly endorsed the Huawei Mate 60 phone. Seeing this, some people may have questions. Two hands make no clap. Even if China manages to deal with Russia, who will deal with Ukraine? The answer is simple. If Russia makes concessions, deal with Ukraine. It will be Europe's responsibility. In a sense, if Russia makes concessions and have a decent outcome with the West, even from the perspective of the Biden administration, there is also the motivation to end the war. Because if Russia returns to the negotiating table and makes concessions fast, while the Biden administration continues to fuel the war, it will face two problems. One is to make Europe more distant. One is facing Trump's challenge in the next election. Trump claimed that if he was elected president, he will end the Russia-Ukraine war within 24 hours. This statement, for a considerable number of voters who hate war, is very attractive. So Biden, for the needs of the election, and to reassure European allies, it is likely that before the next election, get Ukraine back to the negotiating table, and achieve a ceasefire in the Russia-Ukraine war. From the current situation, China's mediation has achieved certain results. On September 21st, Putin confirmed that he would visit Beijing to attend the Belt and Road Forum. For Russia, the Belt and Road Forum is far less important than the BRICS and G20 meetings. Putin just used this as an excuse to come to Beijing to meet with the leader. The meeting can only discuss one topic, the Russia-Ukraine war. Meanwhile, on September 21st, Xinhua News Agency reported, the 10th China-EU High-Level Economic and Trade Dialogue will be held in Beijing on September 25th. That's right. Putin came to China to discuss the Russia-Ukraine issue, the economic and trade ties between China and Europe. So, the Ukraine-Russia war has seen the dawn of a truce. Once the Russia-Ukraine war stops, in the future Sino US game, Europe is likely to remain neutral. We must see that, whether willing or not, in recent years, the whole world has been deeply involved in the great power game between China and the US. If in the past the Sino US game was only focused on trade, technology, and the Taiwan Strait, then as the game between China and the US deepens, the contradiction and struggle has entered a deep level. Both sides in many fields and multiple battlefields. Both sides try to use their own advantages and hit the other's weaknesses. Overall, China and the US are still in a stalemate. It's hard to tell the winner in the short term. On the balance of this struggle, the US has an advantage. Some moves in the diplomatic war once made China very uncomfortable. But although the US's moves seem powerful, many of them are just empty moves. They shouted loudly, but it's hard to implement, even if it can deceive other countries for a while. But they can't bring real benefits. Over time, the US's plan will naturally fail. As for China, China has always been pragmatic. Its moves are more practical and can be implemented. So, if the time width of the Sino-US game is extended, I think China is more likely to achieve its strategic intentions. In the current stalemate, the Sino-US game of chess will temporarily slow down. It is also appropriate for both sides to enter the break about the establishment of economic work and financial working groups, and what kind of results may be achieved. This is what I analyze in the China-US game. Why did the China-US game suddenly enter the midfield break? This is the world of Mauga. Let you easily understand the deep logic behind major events.